Good day, Internet.
Hey,
What's going on, Internet?
Hello, Internet.
Earlier today, Internet, Roger, Chang, and I were talking about some of our favorite haunts around the old Tech TV studio. Now, Robb and Joe weren't there with us at the time.
I was watching though.
Yeah, but it was a funny neighborhood for
Yes.
anybody who never visited us in the studio, and a lot of people did. But if you didn't, it was kind of a funny neighborhood. It's different now, I would assume, but there were like little dive bars, and then kind of like shishi restaurants here and
Yeah.
there. Also, it was
I don't think those are as many as they used to be.
probably not. But it was kind of like a ooh cool, warehousey neighborhood of town type thing. So you would get a little bit of everything.
It was one of the few places in town that they didn't steamroll over, and it was still residential, but it was right up against what used to be a lot of commercial activity. So, like during urban renewal in the 60s, they paved over a lot of that and did like subdivisions and things. That part of town in San Francisco, they left alone, which is surprising. But you have like the municipal transit bus depot at one end, and then you just have a bunch of homes and apartment blocks and dive bars. And you go, yeah. And what's so surprising is everything was in walking distance. You can hit all those bars.
Right. Yeah. No,
great.
Roger was like, what was that bar we all used to go to? And I'm like, Preshow Brewing Company, which that is true. But then it closed down.
Yeah.
And then there was a more even divier bar,
Yeah,
J&B, that I would never have that. I did not have that in my memory.
But like the
But
over
you were
in
right. That's where we went.
Petro Hill used to where the Safeway. It's like a strip mall now. It's like a Safeway and a bunch of other stores.
Yeah.
That used to be the old baseball park for San Francisco, and so that's why everything was around there—the bars, the eateries, and stuff, because it was just a convenient location.
You're right. Yeah, and there's a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was like baseball themed.
Yeah, they had.
Like
What's that one across the kitty corner from it? What's it called? Not third base, the outfield. No, that's a band.
The outfield. Oh, they have that one good song.
But like third base, it was something baseball themed.
It was something baseball themed. Yes. Robb, I don't know how long you've seen Columbus bars and restaurants come and go, but I assume every city has got something like this.
Yeah, I was looking at something where Columbus was rated like the eighth most boring city in the United States.
Most bored. Like, what's number one?
I can't remember what number one was, but I'm pretty sure that we were number 8 on the list.
I mean, that seems a little loaded. Eighth. I mean, I can think of 8 very dull places.
Also,
and I think it was like big cities too. So it was like big cities. But
well, let me ask you, how you've lived in Columbus most of your life?
Yeah, almost my entire adult life.
So are there parts of the city that you would say you would, if you were to come back, if you were to see them with your child eyes, would it not look at all like what you would remember in the 80s or the 70s?
Well, I haven't been here that long. So I've been here since the mid 90s, and like the downtown area is pretty much the same. It is all the, like it's spread out like a virus. It's a very, very large city by just geography as far as how much space there is. So there's all kind of like just new places that didn't exist here. Like if you think like where the Intel, factory is currently not being built right now. New Albany, Ohio. There was a New Albany when I moved to Columbus, but it wasn't what it is now. It's like it was all farmland before. Now it is like, houses, developments, Intel, all that kind of stuff is just out there now.
Yeah.
Their school literally looks like a college campus.
Yeah. I mean, I've always talked about, my hometown is a very lovely place, but very, very rural. And, it used to be apple orchards and now it's vineyards. And vineyards make more money. And that's why it is that way. And I don't have like a huge personal problem with that, but, it's changed. So, yeah.
Shall we go?
I think we shall.
Let's do it. We're all here.
Yeah, Why not?
Have
We're all
a
here.
good show, everybody.
Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, July 17th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And from the show's producer, wait a minute, I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
You're inside yourself today.
Yeah, maybe.
You're in your feelings. That's cool.
That sounds
We all
like
do
a
it.
Pixar movie. You're inside yourself.
DTNS Live is made possible by you, the listener. Thanks to all of you, including Jeffrey Zilks, Adam L., a.k.a. ALO, and Tony Glass.
And welcome all of you to DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better. You know, Rob, I was out all last week, so I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. How are you?
It does seem like that. It's good. It's good to see you again. It's been like a week and a half, but yeah, it's like you were out. I hope I hope you got some much needed rest and were able
Got
to
some
just
rest.
chillax and
did a little chillaxing. It's funny when you work on a live show, it's like, even if you just take like a day off, it's like, I haven't seen these people in forever.
But here's what I noticed. There wasn't a single day when you weren't in the documents looking at the news.
Oh yeah. No.
It's just like
You can't,
Well,
you can't stop.
Also, that's also a thing with live news. We all do this. If I were to like totally peace out for a week, I mean, sure, I'm allowed to do that, but then I would be cramming because there's so much context that happens just within 1 week about stuff that then is news that I'm going to talk about the following week type thing. So yeah, I was definitely lurking, but it's good to be back on our regular Thursday. And we hope you're all doing well out there as well. If you're listening or watching live, hello. Hi. How you doing? Yes. We are glad to have you. Many of you listen or watch after the fact. All good. But if you are with us live, you can name this episode. Head on over to dtns.showbot.tv to submit titles and vote on them throughout the show as we talk about various topics. We got some good ones today. We'll check back in on the votes at the end of the show and crown one of you le winner. All right, let's kick it off with a few stories that caught our eye today. OpenAI launched ChatGPT Agent, which can autonomously operate a virtual computer to complete multi-step tasks like managing a calendar, booking a restaurant, creating a slide deck, or just shopping for you. It combines the capabilities of OpenAI's previous operator and deep research tools and is powered by a new model trained by reinforcement learning. Now available to Pro, Plus, and Team users, not free users, but those who pay, with plans to expand to enterprise and education customers later this summer.
Seems pretty cool. One of the things when I first saw this article earlier today, I was like, so are we going to have ChatGPT and it's doing this in a virtual instance? So is it going to start creating just virtual instance after virtual instance after virtual instance? And will those instances then have their own instances? So will it be almost like a
Conception?
Literally,
Inception.
that's exactly what I was thinking. Inception. So yeah.
Oh, Inception, conception, different thing. I'm curious to know at what point where I can set one of these up and it just posts all our show stuff, and we're like done.
Hopefully never. I'm not looking forward to that day because
then it's like we all just sort of go, we aren't needed. I mean that's kind of the implication I feel like we all have with this stuff. It's like, well, that sounds kind of great. It's like having a personal assistant that just lives inside your computer. But then how much are you rendered obsolete by that?
Connor Hayes, a key Meta executive and original Threads team member, has been appointed head of Threads, freeing Instagram's Adam Mosseri. Hayes, previously VP of product for generative AI, will assume the role by mid-September, overseeing all Threads product teams. The leadership change aims to bolster Threads' rapid global growth. And Threads is definitely growing rapidly. It has 350 million monthly active users, and it is nipping at the heels of X. It is just behind X as far as the number of mobile apps users that it has. So it is very foreseeable that it may actually catch them this year, if not early sometime next year.
I know there are thread haters out there, just Meta in general. Some people are just like, nah, I have other social networks that I prefer to be on. I don't use threads as much as I probably should, because there are a lot of people that are very engaged on threads. I always felt like Adam Mosseri was not long for the threads world as far as, being in charge. Because he's running Instagram. And yes, at first Threads and Instagram were very closely linked, and they keep pushing them farther and farther apart. And you figure with something like Instagram, it's like you want to be focused on one platform.
Yeah, and we're also getting to the point to where the divergence is very clear, because it used to be almost one for one. If you were on Threads, you were on Instagram, and vice versa. And the people you followed were the same people. But now when you look at Threads, the people that you follow on Threads is significantly different than the people that you follow on Instagram. So this kind of makes sense, because if it eclipses X as the biggest platform of its type, basically it's generally a text first type of situation with Threads. That's massive. It's not quite the town square yet, but maybe it will become that in the not too distant future. Who knows?
All right. Speaking of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, along with current and former Meta platforms directors and officers, agreed to a $8 billion settlement for the alleged damages caused by the company, allowing repeated violations of Facebook users' privacy, a shareholders' lawyer told a judge in Delaware on Thursday. Now, no details of the settlement were made available. The trial was adjourned by Judge Kathleen McCormick just as it was set to enter its second day before any of the major players had to take the stand and divulge things.
Oh, color me incredulous. That Meta was like, you know what? We don't want to be on the stand. Like, let's just settle.
Listen, let's keep it inside, and we'll just pay. I mean, isn't that how most of these are supposed to work anyway?
Well, I mean, it doesn't always work out this way, but I think many times companies say that $8 billion is not worth more to us than
people finding out what we were really doing. That's kind of where I go. It's like I fully expected this to be settled for a large sum of money, and although $8 billion is an incredibly large sum of money, when you think about Meta, it's not that much money compared to what it might cost them if everybody were to find out on the, because people would have to take the stand on this is what we were doing, this is what we said, this is how we felt about it. So I fully expected a settlement. This is not shocking to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, those were 3 stories that caught our eye today, but many also did as well. Let's get into those. Automattic, that's the owner of WordPress and Tumblr and a variety of other companies, has relaunched Beeper. If you're not familiar with Beeper or you've forgotten about it, it's the universal messaging app that Automattic acquired in April of last year, 2024. So now it has reemerged with some new features and now allows direct on-device connections to a bunch of messaging services with end-to-end encryption on those that allow it. There's a free tier, so you could connect to 5 different services. For example, if I were to say, all right, I use WhatsApp, Instagram, LinkedIn, Discord, and Slack to talk to people throughout the day, which I do. Those are actually my top 5. That would be free. There's a Beeper Plus subscription for $9.99 per month that gives you more features in general and up to 10 services. So if you're just like, I'm chatting with people on all sorts of services all the time, that might be something that makes sense to you, for the money. The relaunch also integrates Beeper with Texts. That's another messaging platform that Automattic previously acquired, and includes perks for early adopters. So this is definitely when I say super app, it's a super texting and communications app. That's what it feels like to me. It's not, the place that you're, buying things, at least not now. But yeah, it's if anyone's like, well, what else does it support? So we got WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, Google Messages, Google Chat, Facebook Messenger. I forgot that one. I probably would want to integrate that as well. Signal, LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, Discord, and Slack. They've got apps for Windows, Mac, Linux, iPhone, iPad, and Android. So, out of the gate, covering a lot of folks. And yeah, you've got send and receive message support for all of the things. You can add and remove contacts within Beeper. You've got group chat functionality, images and videos supported, emojis are supported. But I wanted to ask you, Rob, and also Roger, what do you think about the idea of chatting and communicating in a single app? Because I know the US gets grief from people out there in the rest of the world a lot. Like, why do you guys use so many apps? You can do so many things within that one super app type thing. But that's just the way we've done it for so long.
It's the way we've done it for so long. And it's been difficult to do this type of thing, which is one of the reasons why, Automattic had to buy it, had to take it away, had to bring it back. I don't know if I am the demographic, if I'm the right person for this, although I will say that there are times when someone will send me a message and I will see it in my shade. I don't actually read the message. I just see that I got the message, and I go to do something else, and then I can't remember where the message came from. So it's like, okay, let me open WhatsApp. Was it in there? No.
Yeah.
Was it in Telegram? Nope, wasn't there. So this potentially would solve some of that if you are using multiple messaging platforms. I do. So maybe I'm talking myself into it right now. Maybe I would be a candidate for this. But the other part is that I don't know if I'm willing to pay for it, because I tend to like to keep my conversations separate. I have conversations on WhatsApp that I don't have on Signal, and I have conversations on Signal that I don't have on WhatsApp for very good reasons. They're just different groups of people that I'm working with. So I know that if I am doing this thing, I got to go use Slack. I know if I'm doing this other thing, I've got to go use WhatsApp. So I kind of like to remain siloed in that way, but I do see this solving that problem of, if somebody sends me something and I don't act on it immediately, I don't have to remember. If I dismiss the notification in the shade, I don't have to remember where they are. It's just, I just go look at one interface and all the new messages are going to be there. So I do definitely see the benefit of this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And part of the big reason that I miss messages is because I just have notification fatigue. Particularly on my phone. It's like, if I I don't know, get up in the morning and it's just like, oh, like so many notifications. I'm just like, no, I want to, let's go into my settings and turn all this stuff off. Like, I don't need notifications about stuff that I get on LinkedIn, because I don't get that many messages on LinkedIn. But every so often I get one that's pretty important. And then I feel really bad that I didn't see it, because how was I going to see it unless I specifically went there? To have that all in one place doesn't solve the issue of notifications, but to consolidate them into one app would be, I think, way more easy to manage.
It definitely having an all-in-one app to kind of consolidate is helpful. I do sympathize with Rob. I do like having those different chats siloed, because they're ones that I'll ignore because it's not like necessarily one that requires a timely response, at least for my part. But it is, there's always that one thing that everyone wants to use, whether it was, what was the one in the day? The was it ICQ? ICQ or Adium or something that just sort of combined made it easier to talk to people.
I used Trillion for years.
Yeah, I was going to say Trillion.
Trillion, that was
you might be thinking of.
Trillion.
Yeah, it was just like, it just didn't matter if you were using AOL Instant Messenger or something else.
They all
you could
work,
just,
yeah.
You could just talk to everybody in one place, which was very freeing. It's like, you didn't want to have a bunch of like messaging apps open at once, which that's exactly what we're talking about now, but it's different, right? Because there's so much more being shared. It's not just sort of like, hey, Roger, where are we going for lunch today?
There's more being shared, and there is a level, especially with the secured messaging apps, that you want to make sure that if you are using an all-in-one, that is truly secure both ways, that you're getting it. And the other thing I think is interesting is that since we started this, that the number of different platforms that we message on has just grown, right? It really hasn't consolidated. First there was Slack, and then there's Discord, and if you want to. You can use X this way or Facebook Messenger. Like we've just added to the pile over time. And at some point, I've always wondered, do we just let go of the platform and just say, hey, well, I'm going to use this protocol now. Everyone follow me on this or use this. Because
I think, I think that's the whole promise of Beeper, right? Is like,
Yeah.
I have, I don't know, 2 friends who insist on only talking over Signal. Fine, not a problem. I can do that. I don't know I know I have Telegram, but I don't know anybody who messages me on Telegram, not with any regularity, and that's fine. And then I have like 2 friends and a couple family members who do message me on Facebook Messenger. So it's like, I don't want to get rid of Facebook because of that.
Yeah.
But it requires, a certain amount of brain power to be like, you know what, I haven't looked at Facebook in a while. And I turned off all the notifications.
And that's part of this for me, sort of the kind of the thing that bugs me most is that I think apps like Automattic that do can kind of consolidate for you are great, but you still have to have accounts on all those platforms. I don't even remember some of the passwords and logins I've used on these because
this was a thorn in my side this morning because I was like, all right, well, I want to talk about Beeper, so let's launch it. I've launched it on downloaded on Mac OS. And, the onboarding process is sort of like, all right, now of all these accounts, like, what do you want to log into? And it's like, everything's in my LastPass. It wouldn't be that hard to do it, but it was going to be kind of time consuming. I was like, I'll do it later.
It's like having like 6 or 7 credit cards. At some point, you're kind of worried, like, how do I access that one?
Yeah,
right.
So as I sit here and I'm listening to both of you guys talk about this, I'm thinking, you mentioned Trillion. That was a great app because I only have to have one thing and I can talk to everybody. And I think of it like this. Can you imagine if you had to have a different email client for every different email provider? That would just be nightmarish. On so many levels.
Like
email just works as a protocol. So, this is a really cool application. What I would love is that we just get to some type of unified protocol that everybody will adopt, at least to some extent. And it doesn't matter. So I can just send you a message and you get it on your platform of choice. That is the time that I'm looking for, to where I don't have to make a decision or I don't have to use a special app that, that gives me the ability to create accounts and everything. Just use a standard that everybody will ultimately subscribe to. And I can just say, yes, I would like to receive these type of messages on this application. And it just works. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I will report back when I finally decide to choose my top 5. Because no, I'm with you, Rob. I'm not paying $10 a month for this. Maybe I will one day. But for now, I'm like, I could just sort of consolidate some stuff. But like, you get 5. You get 5. Not including something like messages, which is predominantly the way I talk to everybody anyway. Apple just isn't gonna, they're not gonna. Play ball on that one. Although a friend of mine, because I asked some folks in my Slack group this morning, hey, is anybody interested in this, or would you be interested? Just kind of gauging the temperature. And a friend of mine was like, I used to love Beeper, but they got rid of messages. And I was like, they used to support iMessage? And he said, yeah, but then Apple shut them down, and that was sort of part of Beeper changing a bit of course. So yeah, you're not going to get everything in one place. But at the same time, it's like, I've got my WhatsApp friends, and I've got my iMessage friends, and I've got my Facebook Messenger friends, and it really does add up. It could be interesting. Again, you have to believe that Automattic and end-to-end encryption is all going to work as promised. So there's that. You are kind of putting another layer of privacy that you have to agree to. But yeah, if anyone has thoughts, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, Rob, let's talk airlines, because I'd like to take a trip and I would like it to be very, very cheap. Is there good news out there for me?
Not if you are flying Delta Airlines, because Delta Airlines is on one right now. So Delta Airlines is implementing a long-term strategy to significantly boost profitability by moving from set fares to individualized pricing determined by AI. This initiative aims to maximize what each passenger pays for their ticket. The airline currently has about 3% of its fares AI determinate, and it figures that by the end of this year, it wants to have up to 20% of that. And the ultimate goal is to eliminate static pricing entirely. So ultimately, what they want to do is they want each passenger to basically, based off of an AI profile, determine what their flight will be based off of what they think that person would ultimately pay. And as I said, this will definitely be good for Delta. I don't imagine that this would be in the best interest of travelers, because ultimately, pretty much across the board, people are probably going to pay more, because if the goal for them is to, well, how much can we get you to pay? If they can get you to pay $1, $2, $3, $10, $12, $150, whatever the case is, more, that's ultimately more money in the, in the bank for Delta, more money out of the bank from your account.
This feels like I don't know. I can compare it to like a sliding scale fee.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's
like, oh well, what can you afford? Sarah, do you have $10 in your pocket, or do you have $100 in your pocket? And we're gonna get something out of you, but maybe it's just the 10. If you can convince us that you only have that 10.
This is just another variation of the concept of surge pricing, right? Where the pricing will adjust depending on the conditions of when you want to for example, it's often used in ride hailing. Oftentimes the time of day, the location of where you're trying to get to, how much traffic and all that. It'll be interesting to see how much traction they get from this, because one thing consumers who need to buy airline tickets hate to see is a lack of transparency on what they will pay, right? I am not going to go to a restaurant with a menu and no prices. Like, if this is just order whatever you want off the menu, and you will not get the price until after you've ordered, whatever entree you get, like a filet mignon, a grilled salmon, something. You don't know what the price is, and only until the bill shows up in your.
Well, yeah, I mean, think of like the last time you went to a steakhouse where it's like, well, that one's $50. Or maybe I just go with the chicken for $25.
Unless you have been lucky enough to find the secrets of financial independence at a very early age, everyone checks out the price. Even royalty, I'm sure, looks at the price before they make any sort of consideration on who to go with for, like, a catering or whatever, because people who say money or no object are a very, very vanishingly small percentage of the human population.
So the thing that really interests me about this whole story is just how open Delta is with telling everyone. It's like, yeah, we don't want you to, we don't want to tell you what the price is, because we're locked. If I tell you the price is $350 for this ticket and you pay $350, we're locked into that. We want to look at you. We want to see, what browser did you use? What area code are you in? What zip code are you in? Who do you work for? We want to look at all these things. How often do you fly? What are your ability to go fly another airline? They want to look at all those things and then determine, oh, well, maybe this person's willing to pay more than $350. Let's jack the price up to $380. If they do that per person for every single ticket that they sell, they make orders of magnitude more money. So as I said, this is definitely a good thing for Delta. Where I tend to have a problem, and I'm not the only one that has a problem with it. You have privacy advocates, Senator Ruben, Galeo, Democrat from Arizona. He's worried about price gouging and discrimination. And early research suggests that the wealthiest customers, believe it or not, actually get the best deals.
Because you're
never would have thought that would have been the case. Of course, I'm being very facetious on this, but because the wealthy customers, it's like, if your ticket's like, let's say you get a first class ticket and that ticket's $960, but now that ticket is $1,300. Is like, you'll call NetJets, and they say, yeah, we can get you on a private plane for $1,700 around the same time. Oh, I'll just go do that because I'd rather fly by myself than fly in a plane full of people. So they will keep the prices lower for the wealthier folks, because the wealthier folks have significantly more options. So this is very problematic for me. They actually say that it lives in a gray area. It's not illegal to do this, but it's kind of in a gray area, because you have to really look at, Are you discriminating against folks? If you're looking at a zip code or an area code where someone might be booking from, you can determine their median income based off the median income of that place. If they get different tickets just because of where they're coming from, and they have a less ability to potentially buy more expensive tickets on other airlines, that becomes very problematic. So I don't know how this is going to pan out, but I am not a fan of this at all. Tell me what the price is and let me pay for it.
I wonder how it changes so I always think of like the last minute flight. We've all had to do it. And, it's like sometimes the last minute flight is cheap because the plane isn't full, and you just get lucky. But usually the last minute flight is expensive because you waited until the last minute. And, I wonder how this changes stuff like that.
So, it depends, right? What you described. There are times where they will let go of those seats super cheap because they need to fill. They need to get butts.
They're just trying to fill the plane.
And one of the things that this reminds me of, besides surge pricing, is also hotels, right? If you call certain times of the day, the closer to event, and you ask them what your room rate is for a particular day that you're on, the more vacancies they have, the more they're willing to drop the price because, again, they want to fill occupancy. I'm curious to know if they were a little more selective on what they picked to determine that value of the price. For example, time of day, time of year, right? Are you traveling in the middle of summer? Are you traveling in the middle of a low travel season, or the two areas that you want to fly to? But if they're doing it and they're aggregating all this other information on you, that's where I think people have the most issue, where it flags being unfair. Right? I don't think people would be as would take as much umbrage if they were feeling that, hey, I get it, it's the middle of the travel season, prices are always going to be higher, or I get it, I booked last minute and they had to squeeze me in, so of course I have to pay more. But if they're saying I make a certain income, I'm in a certain income bracket, and because of that they're going to squeeze me more because they know I have fewer options, people will then take a more negative view, because for some people that's kind of akin to being not a loan shark, but you're taking advantage of someone who's maybe not in a position to be more selective with their options. Well,
I mean, and unless you're really looking at somebody's, I don't know, tax returns type thing, it's like, a zip code can tell you a lot about somebody, but not everything. I might live in a rich neighborhood and I have no money at all. That's just, there's so much gray area, as I think you said before, Roger.
So I'm thinking of something like this. As somebody who used to fly a lot, on American, I was executive platinum, so I was doing a ton of miles per year. And American Airlines absolutely knew that I'm flying for meetings back and forth. I literally would fly out, go to a meeting, then fly back or fly somewhere else. And if they see that I had a flight that was at one time, but for whatever reason, my meeting goes on, I missed that flight, they know that this dude probably wants to get home. It's Friday afternoon. Will he pay more? Normally this flight's going to be $350. At last minute, it's going to be $450, $550, whatever the price is. But would he be willing to pay $20 more, $30 more? Yeah, you don't have to charge a heck of a lot more. If you're doing this for millions of travelers over the course of the year to see significant improvement to your bottom line, because you basically I want to be careful and not say that this is price gouging, but I don't know what else to call it. If you're going to look at a profile of me and say, well, what is your capacity to pay? And I'm going to base the price of the ticket based off of your capacity to pay more, or your ability to not pay more, or whatever those things are. I don't know that that's exactly price gouging, but it doesn't make me feel good at all. And my gut tells me the only reason that Delta thinks that they can get away with this, and I don't want to say they're being cavalier, but they are putting this front out and center. This is what we're planning to do by the end of this year for 20%. And eventually all our tickets are going to be sold this way, because they believe all their competition is going to do exactly the same
I
thing.
guarantee you there's going to be an airline, whether it's Spirit or someone else, who's going to say, you know what? We're going to do flat pricing. Everyone's the same. And if enough people switch over, this is one of those things that I think is going to yo-yo back and forth when certain airlines realize I can take advantage of this situation. I flat price everything. I get more customers.
Well, and also it's kind of like, we've all been in that situation where it's like you get to a shopping cart, you're shopping online, whatever, and you're just like, I'm just not going to go through with the sale. You bail out, and then you get like a barrage of emails like 15% off. Did you forget something? That.
Oh,
sort
you
of
forgot
thing.
to
It's
check
like,
out. It's a friendly reminder.
Right. Yeah. If Delta is like, hey, Sarah, here's what your flight to New York is going to cost, and I'm like, heck no, I'm not doing that.
Newegg does
then,
that a lot.
Then do they just sort of go, okay, we don't care about you, or do they try to lure me in with something that's more attractive?
Newegg. I did that a couple of times on Newegg with stuff I bought, and it's like, hey, you forgot something. We'll give you $15 off your order.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's haggling.
It's all
really.
a game.
It's all a big game.
Well, folks, if you're watching us on the YouTube, if you're watching the live stream, do us a quick favor, hit that like button. It does an awful lot for the algorithm, lets folks know that you like the show. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our show, get to it. Subscribe to us, like us, do all those things. It helps more people find us and find what we're doing.
All right, Roger, yesterday we were talking about the casting for the live-action Zelda movie for Zelda and also Link, based on Nintendo's Zelda game, but not the only upcoming film based on a film IP.
No, there's plenty. In fact, one of the more higher profile ones is Warner Brother dropped the trailer for Mortal Kombat II, featuring everyone's favorite Leonard McCoy, Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. Now, there might be some sort of controversy over the casting of that particular character. But along with that, Netflix has finally greenlit the Assassin's Creed series that they signed up with Ubisoft to do 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, they were sort of like, let's do an adaptation of Assassin's Creed as a streaming show on Netflix. Took them 5 years now. They're finally moving ahead with that. Now, this follows on the back of a record number of video game adaptations for both TV and movies. We had The Last of Us Season 2, but we also had like movie successes like the Minecraft movie, which really got a lot of people raising their eyebrows like, wait a minute, is this an entirely new field in which we could mine? And my question, first and foremost, why are there so many video game and adaptations that we're seeing right now for TV and film? It's not like we haven't seen them before, but before they were few and far between, and they tended to be lower brow, more sort of like popcorn style movies with not a lot of big name, or maybe one big name actor to bring people in, and then sort of a little weaker on the plot. My initial reaction is because people are looking for IPs that are instantly recognizable, but that haven't already been collected by Disney or Paramount or another big studio where they've already bought the rights. In other words, there's enough left on the table for people to pick up without spending a boatload of money.
I think one of the big reasons you see this is that they have built-in audiences. So I was, thinking about the James Gunn Superman movie. That movie cost $225 million to make. It had a $200 million marketing budget, and that's Superman. This is a movie that everybody knows. So when you have a popular game and you make a movie from it, you know that, well, if there's 50 million people playing the game, there's a good chance that if the trailer at least looks good, there's going to be a ton of people who are going to go watch that movie. So they actually may be able to spend less on marketing for that blockbuster movie, if it tends to be that, than they ordinarily would. So ultimately, I think at the end of the day, it's like, if it's a popular video game, it'll probably be popular if we can at least make the trailers look good, and we could hit people that, who want to be seen in movies. If we can get, the good actors to be in the movies, we probably can have a hit on our hands, at least for the first one. If for no other reason than everybody knows the game, everybody loves the game, and those folks are going to be the built-in audience for the game when it comes to the big screen.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the things I noticed was a lot of these movies are now, the core demographic for a lot of comic book movies is Gen X and older millennials, right? Those people that either grew up with comics or they watched their sort of animated versions on Saturday morning or after school TV. With video games, a lot of, at least with the current crop, things like Minecraft, you have a lot of Gen Z as well. So there's a sort of a demographic shift where these forms of entertainment aren't seen as outliers, right? They aren't just things that your kids do. Listen, I play video games and I'm in my 50s. And so there is sort of an acceptance now that, or at least it seems to me there's an acceptance now that video games are a valid, important aspect of the entertainment culture, not unlike reading a novel, not unlike watching a film, not unlike going to a concert. Part of our media literacy, along with podcasts, blogs, social media, all the rest of that, where it's just commonplace now to have those things, and it doesn't seem very weird to make a movie out of it.
Yeah, it's you and I are both in our 50s. We started playing games when we were teenagers. In fact, we started playing games when we were grade school, kids, and we just never stopped. And now there's a whole generation of our children who are also playing the game. So if it's like a Minecraft movie, the kids are absolutely going to want to go see that. Children drive big budget movies. They do, because Daddy, I want to go see that. Mommy, I want to go see this movie. And the fact that it's about a video game might make me say, I might sit there and actually watch that as well, because it's kind of a nostalgic thing for me. And as I said, the first time these movies come out, if they have great trailers, they probably are going to do well, and they don't have to put enormous amounts of additional marketing to it because they already have the audience they know is going to come and see the movie based off their playing of the game.
Well, and going back to, I don't know, the olden days, before we had lots of video games that already had their own visuals. It's like, how many times have we all read a book and we're like, oh, that's what that character looks like? And then there's a movie and you're like, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And sometimes it's like, no, or even worse. Remember, you would read a book, and so everything would be in your imagination, and then some version of a paperback would come out after the movie. So the front of the paperback was like basically the movie poster.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd be like, no, that's not what she looked like, or that's not, where I thought they would be. There's a whole kind of, I think, back and forth that people have between imagination and what is something supposed to be like. Now, with a video game, it's so very visual, and you're, in many cases, in control of the main character, that I think that's where, some folks, they like to bicker about casting for things like this.
And I saw bickering about casting yesterday. I didn't know that there was a Zelda movie coming out until today. So yesterday, I was like, why is the internet arguing about Zelda's hair? I didn't get it. And I wasn't trying to doubt, like Wednesdays are generally days I'm trying to spend as little time on the internet as I can on Wednesday. It's the one day a week that I can not really have to, be into all the stuff. But I'm like, why are people upset about Zelda's hair? I guess I will find out Thursday morning and find out I did.
It's very interesting you say the turnkey audience, because really that's what's important, because so much of what ends up on our screens is driven by financial demands, right? Because you are getting investors to stump up the money for this, and they want to see a return, and the safest way to get a return is to have a built-in audience from the get-go. But it's not just that. I mean, we did it with Harry Potter, right? Harry Potter had a number of very popular books, had a built-in audience, very easy to transition them over. And I think we're just at that stage in society's life where video games have permeated every aspect. I'm amazed there's no Farmville movie, right? I mean, considering the number of people that were playing Farmville, at least on their phones 7 years ago. But it does speak to the kind of broader challenges that coming up with original content, right? Original concepts, original movies, original characters are a lot rarer these days because adaptations make for a safer bet.
Yep. Indeed. You mentioned The Last of Us. There's which is a show I like very much on HBO, and there's all sorts of, depending on where you hang out on the internet, all sorts of discord of like, is Ellie miscast? Is she right for the part? It's like, I don't play the game. So I'm like, yeah, that's who Ellie is. I got no beef with this, but other people do.
And this is the great thing. It is one of those things that goes both ways. If it does well as a movie, then great. I can if the Last of Us HBO show does gangbusters season 2, then you can create a special like Ellie from the TV show skin that you can put into the game, and then it feels more like what you're watching.
That's true. Well, we are definitely talking about ongoing themes on the show this week. On Tuesday's show, you might recall, we talked about Uber partnering with kind of everybody in the robotaxi biz, really trying to corner this market. The news today is that Uber plans to make multi-$100 million investments into both Nuro and Lucid, deploying 20,000 or more robotaxis in the U.S. over the next 6 years. So not tomorrow, but that's a lot of cars. The vehicles will be Lucid's new Gravity SUV, which has autonomous technology developed by Nuro and available exclusively on Uber's app. That's the idea. And the fleet would be owned by Uber or a third-party fleet management partner that Uber has some sort of contract with. And the first vehicles are supposed to launch in as yet to be determined a U.S. city next year, 2026. Robb Dunewood, what do you think that city would be?
I'm going to guess it'll be a city that looks something like San Francisco or someplace like Phoenix or Austin or something like that. That's generally where these things tend to go first. Maybe I can't remember if I even said Phoenix, but Phoenix might be a spot for it. But it'll be a big city, but it'll be a city that is relatively easy to navigate, for lack of, you're not going to see this in New York City. You're not going to see this in Philly. You're not going to see this in DC or Atlanta first. So I think those big cities like that. The other part of it is that, Uber's they have to play this just right. We know that this is where they're going because they're making multi-$100 million, investments into this, but they have enormous amounts of people who drive Uber cars. And if you have an Uber taxi, you're now going up directly against a driver. Drivers, I would imagine, are not going to be terribly happy about this from Uber. They know it's coming from the Waymos and the other companies that are actually doing robotaxis. But when it's Uber doing it, it's like, well, wait a minute, this is how I make my living, and now you're going to put a robotaxi in place that ultimately is going to directly affect me. So I wonder how they're going to dance that dance, because I know that it's not going to be all smooth and, in rainbows for Uber as they go down this route.
It does. This is one of those things where I think we're on the second rung of kind of the climb to autonomous vehicles being sort of a regular feature on our streets. I am curious to know how well public acceptance in these in areas that aren't already filled with them will start to change people's habits about whether or not these are things that they will accept from other things that aren't robotaxis, right? Like just a car. Like what if it was a delivery truck that drives itself and things like that. But it is very fascinating that Uber is really trying hard to be sort of cornering the market and all of this all at the same time.
Yeah, so for anybody who's sort of like Lucid, Nuro, what are these companies? Lucid, you see them around here and there. They make two luxury EVs. So we've got the Lucid Air Sedan, which starts at just under $70,000. So it's expensive. And then that Gravity SUV, which starts just under $80,000. Majority owned by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, operating an assembly plant there. So that's Lucid. And when it comes to Nuro, that's going to be doing kind of the software under the hood. This is the first major licensing deal after it pivoted away from doing its whole own thing. A lot of companies have sort of thrown in the towel on, we're going to take on the Uber or the Waymos, and building self-driving delivery vehicles and doing all that yourself. Some companies can do that, but most startups can't. You're either going to get acquired or you're going to make a deal with a company that can use your technology. Nuro's current fleet operates in California and Texas. So, yeah, I'm very interested in this, and I am the autonomous vehicle fan of the group here on DTNS Live. Waymos are just they're all around me. Couldn't get away from them if I tried. And it's quickly just become, it's regular. It's super regular. I don't even look at a Waymo anymore and be like, is someone in the front seat or not? It's like, no one's in the front seat. They're doing their thing. So I think Uber is being very smart here to partner with, yet a couple other companies to get a lot more cars on the road. And again, it's like 20,000 cars that are spread out not probably in the same metropolitan area over 6 years is not the craziest thing in the world. But that is a big ramp up.
Think of the mind share. No matter which company you're going with, Nuro or Gravity or anything, you're always going to have Uber in the conversation somewhere because they're somehow tied to it. And so Uber will over time.
That's going to be the marketing, is that it's an Uber.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the ubiquity of the Uber name, right? It is always ride share or ride hailing, whether it's a driver or not. It's always food delivery, whether it's in the trunk or not. So the Uber, it's in a way, it's a very shrewd move to have sort of your name connected to a lot of these, because all these partners, some might not do so hot, right? But you still have a number of other partners to lean on if that one doesn't work out. You're not stuck with just one other player. You're stuck with a multitude, and so you do have some slack when it comes to the level of success these services will have in different locations.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about Waymo, and it's like, those are Jaguar cars. And, you see the name Jaguar on the back. It's not a secret, but it's like, who's ever talking about Jaguar? It's Waymo. That's what it is.
So when I look at Waymo, I believe I'm correct when I say this, but they tend to cost more than a Uber or a Lyft or what have you. They tend to cost more than to have somebody driving them.
Yeah,
I wonder when
it
it says Uber though. If a human drives me, it costs X. Does it also cost X if the robotaxi does it? Is like, or does it cost less? Does Uber actually start to undercut its actual drivers? Because here's what Uber won't do: they won't put out enough cars to displace all of their drivers simultaneously. It'll take them a decade to do that. So I'm really wondering how this is going to play, because they've got to dance this dance. They have an enormous amount of investment in people driving people around in their own car. And if they start, basically, battling with that, how does that work? Does everyone want to jump to another, ride sharing platform? I don't know what the answer to that is, but it's an interesting conversation. I think that Uber's going to ultimately have to figure out.
Oh, no, it's like you could be like, where I'm like, I don't know. I always like talking to my taxi drivers. It's like, that's fine. I mean, as long as they're not a bad driver type thing. And then you have other people who are like, I'm going to sit in the back seat and have a private conversation or work, or for whatever reason, I really like the idea of not having another human in this car. And then you have the people who are like, well, that's scary. I don't want an autonomous car driving me. I know a lot of people who are like, I don't know how you do it, Sarah. I wouldn't get in a Waymo. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's your prerogative. We have options.
I will say, I don't think there will be as much friction initially as you go along, because the human drivers, or whether the robotaxis, will add a level of slack, some surge slack into the system. When there's a huge demand, you can put more cars out there, whether they're driven by people or they're robotaxis.
Well, if you have thoughts, you know what to do. Email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. And speaking of, let's check out the mailbag.
Well, Seth had some thoughts on our discussion yesterday about Steam's new addition to its game ban policy to limit adult titles on the store. And Seth writes, I see why some of these games are raising flags, but I also really get annoyed when payment processors decide what people can and can't buy. If I want to look at stuff that isn't breaking the law, where I'm at, let me. I'm a web designer, and a few years ago, I designed a site for a CBD company, not the one that had THC, but finding payment processor that wouldn't to touch CBD products was hard. Now it's not as big of an issue. Come on, we're in 2025, for crying out loud.
I get it, Seth. especially when it comes to CBD or THC for that matter. Man, have times changed, depending on where you live, of course, depending on where you live. But yeah, the idea that a payment processor would be like, we don't want to be associated with, certain adult content or content that we deem, uncouth. It turns into a bigger conversation that a lot of people want to have.
Yeah, I get where Seth is coming from, but I also get where the payment processor is coming from. They have made a determination based off of all culture. This is an area that we don't want to be in. You have to allow that company to have that autonomy to say, no, we don't want to service this. As long, legal or not, they have to be able to say, we don't want to service this. So I see both sides of it.
Mm-hmm. We also got a good email from Josiah writing in about our discussion Monday about Google Notebook LM and what it's being used for. Josiah says, I work for a nonprofit that provides training and consulting to school districts, and we also manage our own district of public magnet schools. I've been testing something very similar to this. I've loaded my organization's policy documents, union contracts, style guide, and other materials into Notebook LM to develop a company chatbot. So far, it's been able to mostly answer questions like, how much would I make as a first-year science teacher? Or am I allowed to use AI to grade student assignments? Things that you'd get a lot of teachers asking. Notebook LM complies with my state's restrictive student data privacy laws, as well as COPPA and FERPA. Notebook LM only references the specific resources shared with it, which makes it relatively private and secure and less prone to hallucinations. When school's back in session, we'll look into loading open-sourced and teacher-created instructional content into Notebook and sharing those resources with students to support their learning. So it's happening, everybody.
It definitely is. It was
whether you like it or not. I mean, this is, you got a lot of people like Josiah thinking really hard about how this works.
Yeah, well, I've had conversations about AI, and I understand folks who I don't want anything to do with it, but I caution that, do you not want anything to do with it from a creative standpoint, or do you not want anything to do with it at all? Because these are tools that can make you more productive, or should say help you be more productive. And that looks like what's happening here with Josiah with his school district, is that we're trying to be more productive. We're trying to make things easier on folks. And it's not like we had the budget to go do this and hire people to do this work. So we're going to put it into an LLM. That can be a slippery slope, but ultimately, I don't think that this genie is going back into the bottle.
And the great, interesting thing about what we're talking about Notebook LM is that Google is, in a way, trying to position Notebook LM as a destination and not just purely as a tool. I could totally see this as being akin to kind of like an internal Wikipedia or wiki that some organizations have, that HR their departments put out. If you have questions about your benefits, questions about days off, questions about all the things that people often have in a large organization, and maybe you didn't staff up enough people, or you don't want to afford to staff up enough people, and so you have one of these. I actually really like Notebook LM. It is one of the few uses of generative AI and LLMs that I think really do scratch an itch for me.
Yeah. Well, listen, Roger, you got the youngest kids, so you let us know how it goes the next couple
They get
years.
older each year. So
this is true. That's true. But yeah, we will continue to survey this topic because what did you say, Rob? It's not going anywhere.
The genie is not going back in the bottle.
The genie is not going back in the bottle. Exactly.
That baby has been birthed.
And if you have comments, maybe you're a student, maybe you're a parent, maybe you're a teacher, or you have thoughts on the educational system and how we all navigate this, or anything that we talk about on the show. Remember to send your comments into feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. And of course, if you're a patron, you can comment on anything that we post to Patreon as well. We read it all. All right, Rob, we've been talking about all sorts of stuff. So what do we got in the show title department?
Yeah, folks, you have been submitting your show titles over at dtns.showbot.tv, and we've got a fair amount of submissions over there. So let's just start right off at the top with Clinton Woodward, a new threadhead.
A new threadhead.
What do you guys think about that one? A new
I like
thread
it.
head. So that's the new head of
Thread.
Threads. Yeah.
Yeah. At first, I was like, "What did we talk? Thread head? Oh yes, Threads. Threads. Got it."
So let's see here. GPEG84 chimes in with Uber charts a new RoboPath.
Yeah. Well, it's doing its best. That's for sure.
I like this one. The Reverb Mike says, no stopping DTNS even on your vacay.
Nope. Can't do it. Can't. I mean, you can, but do you want to? Probably not. It's very scary.
GPEG84 also chimes in with name the price and we'll pay it.
Yes, airline, you just tell me what I should pay and I'll pay it. Or I'll just not go on that vacation ever.
That's kind of how it used to be in the 50s and 60s. Didn't really haggle, so you paid it.
Well, Sarah, what did we decide to go with this? Or I should say this week. Today. What did we decide to go with today?
Well, Rob, today we went with Clinton Woodward's Our AI Fares Fair. Our AI Fares Fair.
I get it.
Get it?
Yep.
I get it. It's good.
Play
I
on
added
words.
the hour.
I love
hour.
it. Love it. I was about to call it a pun, but it's not a pun. It's just a really good show title. Everyone submitted great show titles today. Thank you to one and all. And yeah, Clinton Woodward, gold star for you today. And let's do it all again tomorrow. Roger, we have some folks to thank, don't we?
Yes, I would like to thank a few folks on the Twitch chat for supporting us. I'd like to thank Zoe Briggs Bacon for supporting us all the time. Awesome person. PC Malzy cheered us on with 50 bits. And Disembodied Voice followed us. Thank you one and all. I also like to give a special shout out to Laminar Rainbow for a $3 raise on our shout out on YouTube Super Chat, I should say. Thank you. Super Chat's awesome, and we really appreciate every time we get one. Thank you, Laminar Rainbow.
Indeed.
Folks, would you like a recap of the tech headlines of the week, the top tech headlines of the week with how they affect and disaffect African Americans specifically? Then check out the Check John, where host yours truly, Stephanie Humphrey and Terrence Gaines, dive into the top tech stories, and we give you points of view that you don't necessarily see in mainstream media. So our new episodes land every Tuesday afternoon. You can find out more over at the Tech John. That is the techjawn.com.
You can also watch us live Monday through Friday, or listen Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC. You can also watch and listen after the fact, but we love our live viewers and listeners. Yay! You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back doing it all again tomorrow. Molly Wood is joining us to talk about recycling rare earth technology. Hope to see you there.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.